Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series, the edited version. Originally streamed live at twitch.tv/dualitiesdownfall. More information in the description. Your Words Destroyed My Planet, Chapter 18. Solix! Solix! You call out desperately as you lean over him. Marcy scrambles up to you and looks down at Solix, who seems to be passed out on the snow and ice. What happened? She demands as she pulls her medical kit out. I don't know. He just keeled over backwards. I was too focused on balancing, but I think I'd have noticed if he'd had a goddamn seizure or something, you say in a panic. Does he have seizures? Marcy asks, flicking her light on and reaching over to pull his eyelids open. No, he never said anything if he did, and he passed the medical just fine, and Jane would have told me if there was something like that I should have been aware of. He was fine a moment ago. You insist. Solix grimaces and tries to pull away from the light, which thankfully means he's coming too. Solix, can you hear me? Marcy asks as she nudges his head back towards her. Solix hisses at her like a pissed-off cat, and Marcy snatches her hand back. It's funny, you rarely hear trolls make weird alien noises, given that they're a fully sentient species just like you, and they favor using their big boy words. But, you know, if they're super hurt or out of it, they resort to baser communication the same as humans do. You only need to look at incredibly drunk humans to see people revert back to toddler levels of communication, of crying and screaming. The only noise you hear from trolls in general that you can't do is growling, and in all honesty, if you could make the kind of big, rumbling growl that you've heard Gamzee do, you absolutely would, because it's cool as shit. You've only ever heard a troll hiss once before, and that's when you were really new to this ship, and June had a sleepover with all of her troll friends so you could all get to know each other, and in the night, June got up and accidentally stood on Karkat's fingers. Solix puts his hands over his face and groans. Marcy leans a little closer, but doesn't touch him again just yet. Solix, I need you to answer me. Are you okay? Marcy asks. Solix whines and awkwardly hauls himself upright again, one hand still on his face. Hey, careful. What happened? Are you okay? She questions him. The back of your neck prickles, and you look around sharply to see Bro looming there. Before you act like a little bitch, it wasn't me, he says, and you're focusing enough that he's allowed words. For now, at least. What do you mean? You ask him. Solix, can you understand me? Marcy presses Solix, who takes his free hand away from his face and makes a sort of gesture. Bro crouches down and looks at Solix with interest, which you sincerely don't like. Bro looking at you like that never led to anything good for you. He lifts one arm slowly, and then, fast as anything, snaps it out and into Solix. Solix jerks back with a gasp, which shouldn't happen because Bro can't interact with living people. Bro pulls his hand back, his fist closed, and Solix seems to shake himself off. Sorry, Fuck, what was that? Solix mumbles, suddenly able to speak. Bro turns his fist over, opens it, and something trickles out like black smoke. It dissipates into the air and fades away completely. Felt like touching Psycho the Clown. Your boyfriend here was possessed, at least a little anyway. Bro informs you. If it felt like when Bro interacts with GHB, then it probably was another ghost. You're also ignoring the dig about Solix being your boyfriend, because Bro doesn't know shit about that, and you're not rising to that bait. Who's around to possess him? How would that even work? I didn't see anyone. You insist. You balanced, and he went off balance. Something's wrong with him, that's my theory. Bro says. That's not how that works, you argue. Oh, did you get anything above a high school education when I wasn't looking, you pathetic? Bro freezes when you raise your hand up, ready to snap him back into oblivion. He doesn't show fear, of course, and you tune him out enough where he doesn't get any smart remarks out, so instead, the last you see of him is a sneer and a fake pretense that he doesn't care anyway before he fades away of his own accord. Are we letting them come out, or do I have to make up some problem here? As Daja asks from below you, gesturing at the landed shuttle. Shit, you can't keep them waiting and raise questions. Solix, are you okay enough for now? You ask him, your hand on his shoulder. Solix makes a noise of vague agreement, and you look from him to the shuttle, then make a judgment call. Daja, take Marsty and Solix back to base. I'll cover for you. We gotta let people out. Canal, come on. You order. Everyone rushes into action, and you and Canal start the process of grounding the shuttle to the landing pad, and the shuttle lets down its ladder. When Nepeta gets down, she pulls you close and looks up at you. What's going on? She asks quietly. Problem with Solix. He keeled over, and Bro said it was some kind of ghost possession thing, and I've no idea how or why. I gotta get Aradia and get back to him so we can know what's going on. You whisper back. Right. Nepeta nods and moves away. The sailors and scientists move out of the shuttle, and Nepeta starts breaking people up into teams. She has you and Aradia drive snowmobiles back to the base as she goes along with you to reach the communications at the base to better direct everyone. You don't even get to say hi to Jade, but you catch her eyes one time. The look she gives you is sheer relief, and you can't help but feel guilty for worrying her. As soon as you've parked up the snowmobiles and got into the base, the three of you rush to find Solix. Marsty has him in the medical area. He's sat on the table with one hand on his right temple as he drinks a large bottle of water. That should help with the headache, at least, Marsty says, right as you walk in. How are you feeling? What happened? You ask, looking at Solix and Marsty both. Solix says quietly, seemingly surprised to see her. Hey, honeybee, Aradia replies, and you catch the moment on both of their faces when they realize that maybe she shouldn't call him that anymore. You didn't know she called him that at all. Solix, can you tell me what happened from the beginning? Nepeta asks. Sorry, I'm having... he says a little helplessly. His speech is a little off, but he's understanding everything. It just seems to be finding the right word is hard, Marsty explains, and Solix nods and points at her. Okay, right. Well, we'll give you a moment. Dave, what happened in the lead-up to this? Nepeta asks, turning to you once more. Solix woke up on the shuttle. I didn't see when exactly, since I was pretty busy with Aradia and trying to balance her. You start. I owe you for that, by the way. I was being dragged into the light. I couldn't stop it. If you hadn't added all that darkness in, we'd have been gone, Aradia says grimly. You'd thought as much, but oh boy, do you hate hearing that you were right. I'm just glad you're okay. So, after we landed and I got back on my feet, I caught him up to how the whole thing works. He had questions, normal stuff. He said that he started feeling it when Aradia sang, so I'm guessing he's yours and not mine. You add, with a look at Aradia. Solix coughs a little from the table, but you think he just drank his water a little too fast or something? Nothing else weird happened. I made contact with Radia on the descent. We balanced with no problem, and I didn't feel anything weird. You pause, feeling Bro behind you again. Aradia's eyes flicker over your shoulder, and as she looks at Bro, you see Damara lean around her shoulder, her skin ghostly white and her eyes like snow. She gives Bro a look of complete disdain, which you know is a feeling that Bro returns for her. For how much they're not able to talk to each other, they absolutely loathe one another. You look over at Bro, focusing enough to allow him words, so long as he's not going to misuse them. You've got very little patience right now. Say again? You ask him. I felt something, he says flatly. He says he felt something. I didn't feel anything, though. You translate. Damara tilts her head a little, and you see her mouth move, but her words are lost to you. Damara says that we were both occupied with making a long-distance connection. It's possible we might have missed it. She didn't feel anything on her end, though. What did it feel like, exactly? Aradia asks that last part for herself. Like when GHB's fucking around in the vents, trying to get the drop on people, Bro says after a moment. But it wasn't him, right? You check, and Bro shakes his head. You relay that information to the others. But what does that mean? We can't be dealing with another ghost, surely. Solix isn't one of you two because you're tethered to your ghosts. If he had that, you'd know, right? Nepeta asks. It'd be pretty obvious, and Damara and Bro would know if someone was tied to Solix, right? Aradia asks, and both Damara and Bro nod in a rare moment of agreement. For a start, he'd be able to see them, and he can't, you point out, and Damara waves her hand in front of Solix's face with no reaction, just to prove the point. What if it's not him that's haunted? That ring was his ancestors, right? The one Lonk put on that chain for him? Could a haunted object tied around his neck do this? Marsti asks. I checked that thing already. It's not haunted, you say with a shake of your head. Damara looks at Solix curiously and says something. Aradia opens her mouth to say something and then pauses thoughtfully for a moment. She says, "What if the ring isn't haunted yet?" Aradia asks. Bro expresses with his entire being how fucking stupid that sounds, and you're inclined to agree. Mituna's not dead, Solix manages to say. Damara says one word, and you can guess from context and the expression on Aradia's face that the word she just used was yet. So we have a potential ghost around, and I assume it's more substantial than just a rogue spirit if Bro says it feels like another tethered ghost, possibly one trying to hide. No one died here on the previous mission, and there's been no people here that died at all as far as we're aware. There was no reported pirate activity between us and the earlier ships, but I suppose it's a big universe. It still seems pretty unlikely. Solix, I'm going to need you to tell us what happened in your own words, even if it takes a while. Start from the beginning, Nepeta says. Solix nods and frowns as he tries to compose himself. When Aradia sang, I was Mituna. He was... Solix pauses and groans. He scowls in frustration and tries again. It was the thing. The thing they did when they took him. The thing! Solix says in frustration. Helmed? Marsti asks, and Solix snaps his fingers and points at her. Yes! He was stuck, and that. And I saw Vriska there, and he was fine with her, happy that she was helping, even. Then I was me, Solix explains. So you singing made him see Mituna. That's his waking up experience, so there, you say to Aradia. That makes some sense. What happened when you heard Dave singing to me? Aradia asks him. I wasn't me. I heard Dave and then I don't know. It didn't know anymore. Old and dead and mute. I think it was... Solix squeezes his eyes shut and shakes his head. Finally, he looks at Nepeta, and a light bulb almost goes off as an idea occurs to him. Nep, who you're from? Who? Solix asks. Who I'm from? Nepeta repeats. Yes, Solix insists. Wait, do you mean disciple? Nepeta asks, and Solix nods. Right, yes, and who me and Mituna are from is... Solix trails off. Psionic? Nepeta asks. Solix's eyes go wide, and he jerks forward like he might hurl, but he just coughs loudly and full-bodied. Black smoke rolls out of his mouth, crackling with red and blue before fading into nothing. Missed a bit, Bro says calmly. It's definitely the psionic, Aradia says in alarm. Oh, fuck, that feels better. Yes, it was him. I was him, and he was flitting around this ship, haunting people out of revenge or something. He broke something of Mindfang's. There was some human that screamed when they saw him, and they were someone's experiment or something. Then he went on to what I think was the remains of his body, and he saw Mituna, and Mituna saw him too, but he was helmed and couldn't do anything. Vriska was there again, and she could see him because Mituna could, but I think she saw me. I think she saw me. Then I was back here, or back on the snow out there. I don't know why I couldn't talk then, Solix explains. Mituna can see psionic, you say grimly. I said that, Solix points out. It means he's one of us. He's a balancer. If Psionic was just haunting the ship, then Matuna wouldn't be able to see him, but he can. And I'm guessing if someone else saw him, then they're experimenting on the other balancer there. Aradia explains.
What kind of psychopath would do that? That's why you don't trust scientists, you say flatly.
Bro vanishes in a flash of darkness. If he argued with you, then you would have banished him. See? He can be trained. Fun for everyone. Okay, but if Matuna is haunted and is a balancer, that's one thing, but he's alive, so how is Solix connecting with him, and how does that explain this? Nepeta asks.
Making a connection to a spirit isn't unusual when you first wake up, Marsty points out.
He's not dead. I think he might be dying, but he's definitely not dead now, Solix insists.
A connection with the dying when there's a strong bond could still happen, and if Matuna's one of us, then that might have weird side effects. I don't know about this happening to anyone else, though, you say with a frown.
We could ask the balance group and see if anyone else has any ideas, but I've never heard of it. Aradia frowns.
What? You ask.
When I sang and he heard me, he got Matuna. As a person, Matuna was the kind of person I'd put down as future-driven. He went after things he wanted to have and lived for now and the things he wanted to do soon. Not a lot of worry about the past, so when I sang, Solix was him, Aradia explains.
And Psionic when I sang, but he'd have to be a future ghost, right? Not from the future like Damara, but the ghosts who are all about the stuff they didn't do and all your whatever. I don't think I could pull someone like that. You frown.
He seemed pretty set on the past and revenge for what people did, and all his thoughts were about the past, Solix adds.
Okay, well, I could have more draw with a ghost like that, but you can't be a balancer with a ghost of the other type. It doesn't happen, you insist.
It could, Bro says, making you jump. You look around to his stupid, smug face, pleased for having snuck up on you.
There are pretty set variables where something like this happens. You just have to manipulate things to do it. I theorized about it. We talked about it all the time, the things you'd need to ensure happen to make someone a balancer.
Bro says, his tone going a little softer when he talks about your mom.
She's just not that into you, man. Let it go. Even if you could make that happen, I don't see how you could make it happen with people of opposite alignments. You're talking about the right conditions to traumatize someone enough that their psyche is open enough for someone like you to leech life out of. That's creating the conditions, but you still need a match, you insist. It's like grafting a branch to a different kind of tree, Bro says casually. You're full of shit, you mutter and tune him out.
Matuna isn't dead, Solix insists. We believe you. We don't fully understand what's happening here, but we believe you, Aradia tells him. What was he saying? Nepeta asks.
Some hoofy shit about how you could make something like that happen, a past ghost with a future balancer, I mean. Like, you just have to set things up in the right way, but he's full of shit. Not only would that be impossible to do, or at best possible but obscenely difficult, you need to have loads of experience in that kind of thing, and for what? There's no point in doing that. It makes more sense that Matuna's dying and was more past-focused than we realized deep down, and so he's got Sai, and between me and Aradia doing our thing, that close connection and Sai being there, it's all going weird. You say, even though Bro is clearly trying to interject, you refuse to let him.
Is this going to happen every time? Solix asks warily. I don't know. I could check, Aradia offers.
Given what just happened, I think it'd be better if no one did anything. Definitely not today, Marsty interrupts.
Definitely not today,
Nepeta agrees. If this is going to happen every time, though, what happens when we're back on the ship? We've got 4 of us up there running checks and balances multiple times a day. We're okay down here on a planet, but that's going to be a problem, you say grimly.
I don't have to move out, do I? Solix asks, looking at you. Lightning fast, your brain leaps from the perfectly normal idea that you don't want your friend to move out to the horrible, horrible idea that without him there, you and Hal can't keep the place, and then it'll be all your stuff thrown in bags again and moved on to somewhere where you don't want to live, and... You shut the idea down, but your blood pusher is still going hard. I mean, we've got a while yet. We're all smart people. We can figure this out and stuff. You say, with a smile you hope is convincing. From the look on Solix's face, you can guess that it's not. Dave, don't make shit up. What's actually going to happen here? Solix asks sharply. Right? He thinks you're lying about the outcome and not why you don't want him to leave. He's detected you lying your ass off, but missed why. There's no point making decisions yet until we know what's going on. We can see what happens next time me and Aradia balance, and we'll make sure Marsty's nearby and you're not in danger. We can see if distance is a factor, or if this is a newness thing. Maybe it's different with Aradia nearby instead of me or whatever. We don't know. We just gotta work it out, but we're gonna get there, and then when we know shit, we can figure out what we do long term. You try not to think about that last part. There's a science to this, Aradia insists, and you feel the shudder run through you at her words. Solix catches it. After what you blabbed to him, of course he does. No unscheduled balancing. We have Marsty near Solix and separate from other people when it does happen. Until then, we act like nothing happened. We'll say he just got faint from not eating or something. Aradia, Dave, get back to unloading the shuttle, Nepeta says firmly. Yes, sir, you and Aradia say in unison. You glance over your shoulder at Solix, who pretty clearly looks shaken, but there's nothing more you can do for him now. I told you, Aradia says as you both walk to the exit of Alpha Base building. I never said you were wrong, but it's not like any of this was my doing. Blame the captain, or Solix, since he went digging around Vicari in the first place. There's something weird going on here, and we have to find out what it is, you tell her quietly. The details of all of this just don't make sense, Aradia agrees. You let the both of you outside and start walking to the snowmobiles, but you pause before getting on yours. Hey, Aradia, just wait a second, you say, and catch hold of her arm. Aradia looks around at you with surprise on her face. I know the whole plan with us balancing across shuttles was my dumb idea, but I really tried to keep hold of you. I just couldn't manage it. I know we got off pretty light, considering how badly fucked up things got, but it was still my stupid idea. I'm sorry you were so at risk like that, and thanks for getting everyone here safely from your end, you tell her. Aradia looks at you and then laughs quietly, her face rounding with amusement and her reddened cheeks making her eyes crinkle ever so slightly. I hadn't thought about it at all. I wasn't blaming you. You looked at the situation and made a call. I wasn't agonizing about the past even a little. That's your job, remember? She laughs. Yeah, haha, dark and light, very funny. You grumble and get on your snowmobile. Though, sometimes I wish I worried more about the past than the future. Seeing something awful coming is worse because you have to decide what you're supposed to do, Aradia adds quietly. You say that like I don't have a concept of the future and I'm just always shocked at new things happening. Everyone thinks about that shit, it just doesn't keep me up at night, you say and roll your eyes. Can't relate, Aradia says, and you start your engine. You pull away and make tracks back to the shuttle, not that it's all that far. From then, it's just the routine of load shit up to be towed, tow it to the base where other people can unload it, and then head back. You catch sight of Jade a few times. Her long braid speckled with snow is pretty distinctive, but she's so busy working that you don't get to catch her at all. Then, of course, you have to get back to the base, and Nepeta has to work out what's staying and what's going over to Omega, which of course means more hauling shit around in extra gravity, but at least you have Jake helping you do that part. Being a heavy sailor is half armed security and half professional haul shit arounder. That's a word. You catch Jake up on the creatures you saw, and he, like you, is very impressed at Solix's power. You know, if he does take to the whole sailing thing, I'd be tempted to see if I can't pitch him for the heavies, at least part-time when there's no tech work to be done, Jake says wishfully. Oh, yeah, I bet he'd jump at the chance to work hand-in-hand with Gamzee,
You snort and heft another box up to Jake.
I really don't see the problem they have. The way I see it is that if something was going to happen between Solix and Karkat when Karkat was still dating Gamzee, then it would have happened by now. I'm sure it's not pleasant when someone else has feelings for your partner, Jake says.
Dirk was always such a fan of when you got admirers, you say with a roll of your eyes. Dirk, in fact, hated other people liking Jake. You personally know it's because Dirk never thinks he's good enough, so everyone was a threat to anything he had, because trauma, of course. Great parenting, bro. Tell your kid he's not man enough or good enough for anything, and he's gonna grow up really insecure about that shit.
To Dirk's credit, he's mostly moved past that, at least with Jake. It was touch and go a bit when they were younger, with a fair few breakups and reconciliations, but Jake has pretty consistently shown that he thinks Dirk may as well have hung the moon and stars in the sky just for him, and so Dirk can mostly ignore it when other people want Jake. Regardless of that particular mess, I really don't think Gamzee's such a bad person, and Solix clearly isn't crossing that line. I can understand them not being each other's biggest fans, but can it really be all that bad? I mean, you like them both, Jake says, taking the box from you.
I don't know, I'm Solix's friend. I wouldn't really say I'm Gamzee's.
You sigh, leaning on the truck bed. But you two... Jake's gaze flickers to your hand.
Yeah, I know, we have a lot in common. Neither of us are thrilled about that. I don't wickedly appreciate the reminder when I see a lot of my own past mirrored back at me, and I'm sure he feels the same. It's not his fault, and I don't dislike him for it or anything, but it can make things around him pretty uncomfy. I just wish he'd get his shit together more.
You say unhappily, but like you told Solix, he's basically got a free pass as long as he balances. He can do what he likes. You, on the other hand, have tried to heal what you can of your own past, and have actually done therapy for the parts you can discuss, and it did help. Seeing Gamzee refuse to do it is... it's something. It can make him hard to be around sometimes, even if you understand why he's avoiding it and totally get it. You just wish you didn't get it.
I don't know what it is. Jealousy or something I don't know about with Karkat. It could be that they're just different kinds of people, and I know Gamzee can at least hold a grudge when he decides to. It's none of my business. As long as they don't actually fight each other, I'm keeping out of it.
You tell Jake. Well, that's usually my course of action, too. Go on like there's nothing wrong, and it all sorts itself out in the end. Usually. Jake winces a little at that last part. You decide to keep your opinions on Jake's avoidance strategy to yourself, and then leap nearly a foot in the air when you find yourself nearly nose-to-nose with Jade. You clutch a hand to your chest as you try not to have a full-on freak-out about someone getting that close to you. Cursing in all the languages you know helps somewhat. Sorry, I didn't mean to sneak up on you. I guess you didn't hear me over Jake gospeling like a little old woman, Jade says, gently rubbing your back. I'll tell Grandma you said that, Jake retorts. Aren't you a little too old for tattling to Grandma? Jade shoots back, knowing better than to pay attention to your panic, because the scrutiny just makes it worse. It's not bro, he's not alive again somehow. It's Jade, and she loves you, and you're fine. You're fine. Why would I ever stop when it works so well? Jake says smugly. Okay, I'm good. Took a few years off my life, but that's cool. Didn't want to be old anyway. You laugh weakly as you stand up properly again. Can I borrow you for a little while? Nepeta says I have to move to Omega Base, so I want to talk to you in person for a bit. Jade says quietly, her tone serious. Right, she wasn't sure if you were alive or dead for a probably horrifying length of time. She probably needs to talk about that. You should probably talk about that. Sure. Jake, are you... You ask, looking around at him. Oh, I'm fine. I can haul all this in here. Go be all lovebirdy. You can just owe me a favor for next time, Jake says with a wink at you both. It's the same eye, to be clear. Otherwise that'd just be Jake blinking at you. Anyway, you're going now. Jade leads you into the Alpha Base building and up the stairs, only to pause at the top and look about. I've got a room. Solix probably isn't in it if you want some quiet. You offer, and lead the way. You open the door and find that, aside from a few of Solix's things about the place, there's no sign of the man. Score. Privacy secured. Turning around, you see Jade leaning on the closed door with her gaze downturned.
I'm really sorry I put you through not knowing if I was alive or dead. Everyone else too, not just me, but you know what I mean. That must have been so fucking shitty, and I'm sorry. You apologize.
No, Dave, no, well, yeah, it was hell.
Jade shudders a little. I'm sorry. You get that in the pause she left.
It really wasn't your fault. I'm still not sure exactly what happened, but it was something with the flight plan, and I think the engines must have pulled some serious G's, and I blacked out, or... I don't know. It wasn't your fault, and I know it's part of the job. If it had been me missing, I'd feel awful for you too, but it wouldn't have been my fault.
Jade assures you gently. You still feel like you could have done your job better, but you can't explain that. I know, but I'm sorry anyway. You tell her. Jade's expression is soft, sympathetic, and understanding.
You know I love you, don't you? That I always will? It was awful thinking that you might be gone, and it's nothing new, but when all you can do is wait, you think about things a lot more clearly and realize that your time is short, you know? I hated thinking about all of that, and I just can't... Sorry, I'm not explaining this well.
Jade says. Wait, are you quitting? Like, you're not gonna sail anymore because of this? You ask in surprise. Jade looks at you wide-eyed for a moment, her mouth slightly open, and it takes a second or two for her to answer.
I think I need to seriously reevaluate whether I want to keep going on missions. That's probably smart.
Jade says softly. I get that. I know you love the science and adventure and everything, but if it feels like it's too much, then I totally understand that, and whatever you want to do, I've got your back. You assure her. She's not letting you down or anything, and you really don't want her to think that. Jade looks indecisive and unhappy, so maybe you should change the subject. Oh, wait, hold that thought. Speaking of time, if you're going to Omega Base, I have something for you, and maybe it could make you feel better. You gasp and rush to your bag.
Dave, no, let me... Jade tries, but you're digging in your bag for the box you know is there.
It's okay. I know I was gonna wait until our anniversary, but let's call it time dilation and a surprise I'm not dead kind of thing. You say as you pull the box out.
Dave, don't open that box!
Jade shouts at you and all but tackles you onto the bed.
Jesus, what the fuck?
You wheeze as Jade removes her elbow from your sore ribs.
Sorry, I might have panicked slightly there.
Jade laughs weakly and moves off of you. It's a cardboard box, not a grenade that I need you to jump on for me like this is a touching Earth war movie. What the hell? You ask and gesture to the entirely harmless and now abandoned box on your bed. You let it go and sit up properly, which is easier without Jade on you.
We need to talk,
Jade says, her tone somber. You're not really sure what to say to that, because you have no idea what's going on here, but if Jade wants to talk, you're going to give her space to.
I don't believe in ultimatums. If you have to tell someone that this thing happens or else something bad happens, then they're not making that choice freely, and I don't do that. I won't do that. I just want you to know that this isn't that kind of situation, and now that I've started this, I can't walk it back because then I can't know why you're doing anything, and that's not something I can handle, Jade says.
What are you talking about? You ask, confused and uneasy all at once.
I love you, and you're wonderful, and I will always love you, she insists and looks at you intently.
Why am I hearing a but at the end of that? Why are you saying that like it's a bad thing? You ask as dread crawls up your throat.
It's not a bad thing. I do love you. It's not romantic anymore. I can't be with you anymore, Jade tells you. There's a ringing in your ears, like a hand grenade has gone off right by you, and it takes you several stunned seconds to even recall the Alternian words you need. You've never shared a human language. It was always Alternian for you two.
What? Is all you can manage, your voice small and horrified.
It's not that I don't like being with you, because I do, and I love you. You're my best friend, and you're always great to be around. Beck loves you so much. My family loves you so much. I could go the rest of my life being with you, and it wouldn't be bad, but it's not what I want. I don't love you romantically anymore, and it's awful because I do still love you, and I don't want to hurt you, and I can't do anything about this feeling, and I don't want you to change or...
Jade starts to say, is this because of the wedding? Because Dirk and Jake got married and we haven't? Because if that's what you want, if it's just that it's been too long and you need that, then I can do that, you insist. Fuck, someone here must be ordained in something, or Nepeta or Polypa are captains of their shuttles, so couldn't they marry you right here and now if that's what Jade needs? You can't lose her.
No, see, this is what I'm saying. You don't want to get married, but you'd do it if it meant we stayed together, which means you're not doing it because you want to. It just means that I'd be making you, and I don't want that,
Jade argues. I don't care. So I'm not a huge fan of the idea because of my parents, but fuck them. If you want it, then I'm game. It's just a relationship that we already basically have, a piece of paper and a party. That's not a problem for me, you tell her in a panic.
That's not what I want,
she says loudly, almost on the edge of tears.
I don't want someone to marry me because I want to get married. I want someone to marry me because it's what they want. I don't want someone to be with me just because we always have and it works. I want to be with someone I'm in love with in every way,
Jade insists. You jerk back like she just slapped you. You wish she had. You can handle that at least.
Dave, it's nothing you've done or not done. It's nothing about you. I wouldn't change you, and it's not...
She starts. The sex thing? You say sharply.
It's not! Dave, don't think that. I'm serious. I don't care about that. This isn't about that. We just grew apart, is all,
Jade insists. I didn't do anything. I love you. You're the one breaking up with me, you argue, and you hate that your voice catches on the word love.
Yeah, I grew and you didn't, and this isn't working anymore. I love you too much to hold you hostage to something that's not working, and I deserve to be with someone who's everything I want, and you do too. I know it feels awful right now. Aradia said that...
Jade catches herself there, and you know she just said something she didn't mean to. Aradia? You repeat.
We talked about her and Solix, and I could see it. I saw that what happened with them had happened to us, but I can only imagine how awful this is, and I don't want to hurt you, but you deserve to be with someone who'll love you the way you deserve to,
Jade says, her tone gentle as she wrenches your still beating heart from your chest. You remember something from therapy about how anger is an appropriate emotion, but it's usually a secondary emotion. You're hurt and you're scared. You feel betrayed, but right now, anger is coming a lot easier. So, you were just, what? Talking to Aradia about breaking up with me? How did that go? Oh hey, Carcat asked us to check in on you. How bad did it hurt when Solix broke up with you? Gee, that sounds fun. I'll do it to Dave. You snap at her, and it's easier than being hurt. It's not so pathetic as admitting that you trusted someone and they ripped you apart. Jade looks shocked at your rage, your words that you turned on her. It doesn't feel better. That shit about anger being better than pain, manlier. It's shit, and you're too hurt and too exhausted to do it.
She was actually telling me not to rush into things, not to come talk to you right away, but I was so scared that you died and I wasn't honest. I couldn't wait,
Jade says quietly. Please don't do this. We could do anything else before leaping right to throwing 10 years away, you plead with her.
The sunk cost fallacy isn't a great argument for staying together. Don't you want someone who wants to love you and not someone who's put 10 years into it so they might as well stick around forever?
She counters. She always was smarter than you. I want you to love me, you say, barely above a whisper. Jade looks agonized. More than anything else, that statement hurt her.
You weren't even trying to, and you didn't know the idea of being in love with you was so terrible that it could hurt. I can't. Not like that. I'm sorry. Look, I think I should go. It's not that I want to stop talking to you, but I think we could do with some time apart, and I'll be on the other base anyway, and it'd be better. I'm really sorry, Dave, Jade says and stands up. The look she gives you is regretful and deeply sad, but she leaves you anyway. She leaves the room and leaves you. Numbly, you pick up your palm husk and shoot a message to Polypa and Nepeta saying that you're busy. Normally they think about balancing stuff when you say that, but you really don't care right now. After that, you let your palm husk go and it clatters to the floor by your feet. You can't change her mind. She was pretty clear on that. You begged and it didn't do anything. You fucked up somewhere, or maybe you're just too fucked up as a person for her to deal with anymore. You move to lay down, but your hand brushes the box of the necklace that you'd had made for Jade. She probably thought it was an engagement ring or something. The guy at the shop told you that's what you should have been buying her, but it wasn't what you wanted. You'd thought if you loved her, that was enough. You pick up the box and stare at it numbly for several seconds, and then, out of sheer impulse, you fling it at the wall so it smashes the light switch. Flopping sideways on the bed, you grab your blanket and pull it over you. You don't so much cry, there's no sobbing involved, but instead you feel your artificial tears sliding down your face to dampen your pillow. With care, you mentally walk back through everything you did and said. When did you fuck up this irreparably? Did you mess up one time, or did you end your relationship in a death by 1,000 cuts kind of way? Was it 1,000,000 different times of you not being who she wanted? It isn't like you saw your relationship as some long process of keeping score. You thought you were in love, not a war of attrition. Should you have always let her have whatever she wanted? That's a pretty shitty thing to demand, and you can't see Jade ever pulling that on you. So, what, then? She grew up, grew into being someone new, and left you behind, outgrew you? Who were you supposed to grow into being, and when was anyone going to tell you? In the dark of your room, a weight settles on your bed without once denting the covers. You can feel the weight of Bro's stare on you, making your skin crawl. His judgment is clear. You weren't enough, not strong enough, not man enough, not ever enough. You don't even give him a chance to speak. You drag your hand out of the covers, shove it through his chest, and snap your fingers with the intent to banish him so hard and for so fucking long that you'll have to go down into some deep, dark cave that's never seen light to pull him back out. You hope it's agonizing for him. Time passes, but nothing feels any better. You're just there in the dark, gnawing over your past, trying to find what you said or did or failed to do. An auto-cannibalistic meal, stripping your past self to the bone to try to sustain your broken heart. When your door opens in the dark, you tense and stay absolutely still. A battery-inked finger moves through the dark, accompanied by red and blue eyes. The hand smacks against the light, but the room still stays dark. Seriously, is everything just gonna break? Solix mutters. He steps forward and you hear the crunch of the necklace's box under his foot. What the? Solix says quietly, and you hear the metal sound of the necklace. Solix curses, and you flinch when he switches the light on his palm husk on. You pull the blankets over your head and curl up. Dave? Where have you been? I've been looking for you. Why are you laying down in the dark, and I stepped on your box. I'm sorry, Solix says as he comes closer. It doesn't matter that he stepped on the box. It's not changing anything now. Dave? He calls out as he comes closer to the bed. Turn the light off. You groan into the pillow. There's a pause, but the room gets dimmer. He turned it off. There's a shift of fabric, and you hear his knees crack as he kneels down, which isn't weird for a different gravity planet. The quiet sound of him feeling out your bedside table to put the box and necklace down filters through your blanket to you. Are you sick, or have you got a migraine or something? I saw you coming in and out of the base a few times, and then you disappeared, Solix says quietly. You don't know what to say. Turn the light off was only 4 words, and you can sound annoyed about that, but you don't know what to do now, what to say. Do you need me to get Marsty? Solix asks, his voice hushed like he's worried he's going to hurt you with volume. You sniff, and Solix carefully peels your blanket back a little, enough that he can press his hand to your forehead. He's not wearing the gloves of his undersuit, so it's his bare skin. He could tell if you had a fever, probably, but this isn't that. I should get Marsty, he says, probably more to himself than you, but you catch him by the wrist to stop him from going. The last thing you need is more spectators. You try to say, Jade broke up with me, but it comes out in this warbled mess of whining syllables and a pathetic hitch of your breath. Solix pauses, and you can see his eyes searching the vague area that your face is at. You guess he still can't see quite that well in the dark yet. The door only shut behind him a few moments ago, and he just turned the light off again, so he's still adjusting. Not like you. You can see the confusion on his face just fine. I only got part of that. Jade, what? Are you crying? Solix asks, and carefully reaches for your face. His fingertips slip through the black tracks of your tears on your face. They move to cup your cheek in his hand, and an awful part of your brain reminds you that Jade isn't ever going to touch you again, and that thought alone actually makes you sob. I've got no idea what's happening. Dave, what's wrong? What about Jade? Solix asks again, worriedly. She broke up with me, you choke out. Solix's eyes go wide, and for a moment he looks almost angry, but that expression is replaced with sympathy, or maybe the condescending kind of human pity. Poor Dave couldn't hold on to his girlfriend, that sort of shit. I'm sorry, that really fucking sucks. I don't know why she did it, and I'm not gonna sit here and call her a bitch or anything, but I'm really sorry. I know how much losing a relationship that long sucks. Solix says softly. You push yourself to sit up and sniff, wiping your face off with your blanket. You broke up with Aradia. Jade broke up with me. It's different, you say sullenly. That's true, but it still hurt. It really fucking hurt, Solix points out. It did. You know it did. It's hard to hold that thought in your head, though. She said it was because of talking to Aradia about you. The whole growing apart thing. She grew into someone who didn't love me, I guess. I stayed me, which is bad. You mutter. It's not bad. There's nothing wrong with you, Solix tells you. Tell that to Jade, you say bitterly. I will if she says otherwise, Solix says stubbornly. You shift backwards so your back is against the wall, and you figure Solix's night vision is kicked in because his eyes follow your movement just fine. You pull your knees to your chest and wrap your arms around them. Makes me wish I'd cheated on her or something, you say miserably. What? Why? Solix asks in alarm. Because then I could at least be all, oh, that's why, yeah, that's fair. I could look at it and be like, yeah, that's the moment I fucked everything up, and now I entirely understand why this has happened, but I didn't do anything. I can regret doing something, but if I didn't do anything, then just what? It's just me, you tell him. Solix relaxes and seems to think about your words for a moment before he moves to sit next to you in the dark, his back to the wall right by yours. When it was me and Aradia, at least, it wasn't like that, and if Jade had said that this happened because of talking to Aradia about us, I can maybe try and, I don't know, explain what happened with me and her and see if that helps at all. Solix offers you. You can't make it worse, you sniff. Solix sighs in the quiet dark of your room, and the glow on his fingers shifts as he fidgets with his hands a little before speaking. For the sake of you being human, I'm just gonna say love instead of pity. It was red, so it's basically the same, and as much as it normally annoys me that you use the same word for friends, family, your kids, lovers, nationalities, whatever, it's helpful here, Solix says, by way of prefacing the whole thing. So, he goes on. I loved Aradia romantically and redly. We got together just before you and Jade did, so you know what it's like being with someone and going from being a kid to an adult with them, even if I didn't think I was a kid back then.
I swear I was so much older at 13.
You agree quietly. Right? I distinctly remember thinking I was basically an adult, and you see them on the train to school, and it's like, tiny little kids, holy shit, Solix says in a horrified tone. Yeah, you objectively know how old you were when you were first the subject of your parents' experiments, but when you see kids that age, well, you try not to think about it. Anyway, so I don't need to explain all that. I don't know when it started happening with us, because that's the thing, right? When you're with someone for that long, and especially with us because we live together, it's not all flush romance movie moments. It's how do our schedules match up? What are we doing for dinner? Did you drop the laundry off? Your hive mates and your friends as much as your flesh. Solix explains. That makes sense. There's always that mundane domestic part of long-term relationships.
I should have moved in with her, you mumble.
Out of interest, why didn't you? Solix asks.
I hate moving. We had foster homes for a bit when we were taken from Mom and after Bro was executed, and with 5 of us together and 2 of us being trans and me being blind, we were a lot for people. Not to mention I was traumatized to shit, and I had my dead biological father haunting me, and I had no idea what to do about that, and it was just a lot, and I hated it. I guess you sort of associate things, you explain.
That makes sense. Most people find moving stressful without all of that. Solix agrees.
Right. Plus, doing the whole balancing thing is easier when you have your own block to retreat to. It's easier to slip out of a hive when there's just hive mates there with you, even when they're Hal and Rose or Hal and you. It brought up a lot of bad shit. It was a bad idea for my job as a balancer, and she wasn't exactly far away, and we spent loads of time there anyway, and I slept over reasonably often. I just didn't want to, but she wanted it, and if I had just... You rush through your explanation. If you'd done it, you think she'd have stayed with you? It sounds like you didn't want to, and you're only saying that you should have because you think it might have saved your relationship. That's not romantic, it's a hostage situation. Solix interrupts you. That's what she said, that she couldn't tell me any of this, or else I'd just do stuff out of desperation. You choke out.
Solix looks at you, and the room goes silent for a bit until he sighs and starts speaking again. I went to the wedding with Hal on that dumb lie, and the only one who bought it was AA. She wasn't even all that upset by it. She was upset that I'd lied and gone behind her back, but when she found out that it was just some stupid thing with Hal and not me cheating, she was fine. It was the supposed deception she was upset about because the romance wasn't there anymore, but we still trusted each other. When I realized what had happened between us, that even though I still loved her, it wasn't romance anymore, I couldn't unknow that. If I'd stayed with her after realizing that, we'd both know it, and even if we acted like nothing had happened, it would be hollow and done just to stay together. Solix explains.
But we could have gone to relationship counseling or something. I would have done that if it fixed things.
You say miserably. Why is it that only you think this was worth saving? That can fix things like, why do you always have to win every argument, or what do we do when our families or quadrants get involved in our relationship? That's technical stuff. You can absolutely see someone to debug that kind of thing. There's not a lot you can do when the problem is just that one person doesn't romantically love the other anymore. There's no fixing that. Solix tells you.
But I love her, you whisper, and feel fresh tears run down your face.
I know you do, Solix says gently. You feel so small and so fucking stupid. She can date other people, but you don't see that happening for you. She gets other chances because she's great, but you're done for. If her thing with you is anything like me and Aradia, then she didn't end things because she doesn't love you at all. She probably still does, just not the right way, he adds.
Is that supposed to make me feel better? You demand tearfully.
Oh, fuck no. The woman you spent all of your teenage years with and thus far your entire adult life just curb-stomped your heart. No matter how much she did it because she cares or how platonically she still loves you, it still sucks so hard and you're gonna feel like total shit for fucking ages. I still feel shitty sometimes about losing AA. Knowing this doesn't do shit to help you now. Later it probably will, but absolutely not now, Solix says emphatically.
Good to know, you mumble and wipe your tears away.
Personally, my method of feeling better is you find a family of crazy aliens, get one of them that you're friends with to take you in, then you be a dick about whether you're friends or not, schedule in some time to mope around pathetically, and then distract yourself with a conspiracy and trying to uncover it. Find out about a whole planet of people who need help, start working out until you're too tired to think, let alone be sad, and then find out horrifying secrets about the universe and get shot at a planet. Worked wonders for me, Solix says. His words actually make you laugh a little. It's kind of a weak laugh, but it's there. You slide along the wall until you can rest your head on his shoulder. It sucks, and I'm sorry, but you've got your little crew and me, and I would get it if you didn't want to see Aradia much right now, but you have her, too. Back on the ship, you've got your whole family and our friends. You'll be okay eventually, Solix tells you gently. You don't really buy that. You'll probably feel better than this, sure. You will get better, comparatively speaking, but you doubt if you'll ever be happy in the same way again. You never wanted anything between you and Jade to change. It was just how you wanted it, and you were happy, but she wasn't. So now she'll be happy with someone else eventually, and you'll be alone. It doesn't feel like a lot to look forward to, even with your friends and family around you. Do you want me to tell the others that you're busy, or say someone needed you? I can make something up so people leave you alone. I could tell them you got eaten by space wolves, Solix offers.
Space wolves? You ask incredulously.
Whatever those things were. They tried to eat us, so we get to name them, and since you didn't, I'm going with space wolves, Solix says stubbornly. You know what he's doing. There's nothing to be done about Jade breaking up with you and how you've lost her forever. If you couldn't get her back, there's fuck all Solix can do about it, so he's doing what you'd do, what you did do when he was in your situation. You were just there, you did practical things. You offered him the chance to eat with you and Hal, you helped him move, that stuff you could do.
I don't think telling people I was eaten by space wolves is a good idea.
I've got to do work and shit, people are gonna know. I don't want to tell people. I don't want to see that look on their faces. You tell him. Oh, I might actually have a solution for that, Solix gasps.
I swear if you say space wolves, you warn him.
No, shut up. That was a great plan, but I have a different plan, Solix says, and moves to face you, which means you either have to sit up properly and look at him. If you didn't do that, you'd just have your head on his chest, which'd be... whatever. You're too emotionally exhausted to think, so you just sit up and wait for Solix to tell you whatever his plan is. Remember Lonk went off with one of the scientists to go look at the cliffs? Well, turns out there's lots of things down there that they want according to some seismic scans they did or something, which means they want more tech out there and a path from here to there cleared. Which means you can get ready for that, then go in the room with the most people, announce that Jade broke up with you, and then run. You don't have to see anyone's reactions, and by the time we get back, everyone will have gossiped enough about it, so you don't have to tell anyone else. And if people do have questions that you actually want to answer, they control you with them, and you don't have to look people in the eye when you do it, and if you want to avoid it, then you're busy working, Solix explains.
That is an objectively terrible plan. You can't just blurt out your emotional drama and not deal with it.
For one thing, your crew, at least, deserves an in-person explanation, as much as you hate to think about it. But having to see everyone else react to you two breaking up,
yeah, you'd think you'd rather dive naked into a swimming pool of broken glass. That'd be really immature of me to do that,
you say sullenly. Sure, and you don't have to, but here's a counterpoint. You're literally the reason everyone on this planet is still alive. If you don't want to deal with people's reactions and questions, then I think you should be allowed to do what you want. It's the least everyone else can do, Solix says firmly. You think about it for a long few moments. You don't want to see everyone else's reaction and everyone's opinions on your relationship. You feel like you owe your friends some kind of in-person explanation, but Solix has a point, at least in the appeal of just leaving and letting the news run its course. And if you're working, it'll look a little less like you're hiding, even if that's what you're doing. You know what? Yeah, maybe fucking around in the woods, watching you haul trees out of the ground and planning communication things is what I need. I'm a little surprised you'd offer to be out there for that long, since you complain about the cold. You say. Literally, every time Solix gets back to the base, he swears he will never leave again because of the cold. Yeah, well, if Carcat was here, I'm sure he'd have a more socially elegant solution than drop bad news and run, but he's not here, so this is what I got. And we're friends, so I'm willing to face the literal cold so you don't have to deal with the metaphorical heat here. Solix shrugs. You could probably do with some Carcat advice right now. He always seems to know what to say. Bro might have always mocked Carcat for being so emotional, but given how goddamn hard it can be to deal with your feelings, you've always respected how much he understands people and actually cares. But, you know, feelings are gay. Caring for people is gay, and needing help is even worse. Honestly, you think those particular transgressions labels Carcat as gay in Bro's mind more than dating Gamzee. Okay, yeah, let's do it. I'll go find my crew first and then nip, you say, breathing in a shaky breath and letting it go. Wait a second, Solix says and leans in close to you. It must be that your thoughts about Jade and your gratitude for Solix are all jumbled up, because for a split second, as Solix leans in and gently touches your face, you think he's going to kiss you, but no, of course he's not. Solix squints at you in the low light of the room and tries to shift the stain of your black tears on your skin. It's not really moving. You probably want to wash your face first. I guess Equius didn't think you'd be crying this much, Solix says and lets you go. I don't usually cry, you mumble. Either I do nothing but, or I go years without crying at all, Solix tells you. Sure thing, duelist. You sigh and get to your feet. You get to the door and listen, but there's no one nearby. Quickly, you open the door and make your way to the ablution block. Looking at yourself in the mirror, you look, well, bad is a word for it. One of the upsides of having your real eyes taken out and artificial ones put in their place is they don't get all bloodshot when you cry. The sleek black sheen of your eyes never betrays you like that. The cold-resistant tears that Equius gave you, however, have streamed down your cheeks and displaced the color onto your skin. The look is pretty reminiscent of pre-destruction-era Earth emo, a thing it shares with new emo from present day, and also with the emo-inspired sea shanty subgenre named Nemo, because sailors love a pun when they can get it. The fact that you're distracting yourself is pretty obvious. You're not even going to bother being in denial. But it's easier to look at yourself in the mirror as you wash your face to make it look like you've not been sobbing your heart out if you can think about useless music trivia when you do it. You like music, it's your thing, and historical music forms a nice, overlapping shared interest between you and your older siblings. One summer, the three of them did nothing but drill each other's memory on charting music from every year from the latter half of the 20th century right up until everyone evacuated Earth. You're not so bad on that yourself, but you're better with remembering the actual music instead of the facts about it. The last traces of black drip off of your chin, and you stare at yourself in the mirror. Every distracting thought about Bro and your family, about music or Solix, all falls away. Jade left you. She made her mind up and ended things with you. You didn't do anything wrong. There was no fatal mistake on your part, no argument that went too far, no unsolvable disagreement, no transgression too far. You told Jade about Bro, of course. About his obsession with continuing the line of Dave Striders throughout history, and since Rose is pretty set with Kanaya, and Roxy's only really dated trolls because, well, the majority of your ship is trolls, it means that you're the last hope for that. Really, Bro would have preferred it was you anyway, since you're the Dave Strider of your generation. The fact that he'd know would make it worse. You could stop him being anywhere near you if you and Jade actually... But he'd know. It's creepy as hell. Then again, it's not as if you've never done stuff in spite of bro or acted a certain way, even if he'd hate it and he'd know. Jade always said she understood, tried to suggest that you look into asexuality as a descriptor for what you felt, but that never felt right. It's not like you never think about sex or anything, even if it's all super vague and anonymous in your mind. You just never felt it with her. But it didn't matter to you because you love her. You love her, and she's wonderful, and you loved being around her. You loved sleeping with her in the most literal sense. Everything with her was great. Jade was so good to you when you first got here. She helped you train back, which made you so much more independent. She always got it right when it came to helping you or letting you do shit by yourself. She never patronized you or treated you like you were less than. She was wonderful, and she loved you. She asked you out, and fuck, you would have given her your kidney if she'd asked for it, and all she wanted was you. And now, she doesn't. She doesn't love you anymore, or it's only as a friend. And you didn't do anything. You're just not enough anymore. It's not as if she's nobody. She knows you better, more intimately and deeply than almost anyone. The only secret you had from her was the balance stuff. You told her everything else, so she knew who you were. This isn't someone you kind of know deciding they don't want to date you, where you can go, oh, they never knew the real you. They don't know what they're missing. No, she knows who you are. She looked at all of it and decided that she was done and you weren't enough. She was being nice about it too, because she cares, but there's no way to make that not hurt. Your reflection looks deeply sad and hopeless, which fits because you feel like someone's cut you open and scraped out your insides with a giant spoon. Fuck it. You rub your face dry on a towel and move to the door. You're just about to open it when you catch familiar voices outside. No, he's somewhere around here. Jade just left and seemed upset, and Come on. Aradia sighs. No idea what you're talking about, Solix says. So, I know when you're lying, Aradia says flatly. Okay, cool. I also have no idea who you're talking about. I've never met a Dave or have ever seen one, so I don't know where you find one, Solix replies. I can feel him, Aradia says, though it sounds like it's through gritted teeth. Hot, Solix says blandly, and that nearly makes you laugh. You lean back as Damara's ghostly form leans through the door. She rolls her eyes and moves back out, no doubt telling Aradia where you are. You may as well go outside. There you are, Aradia sighs as you come out. Oh, that Dave, Solix says, and Aradia gives him a withering look. Where have you been? I can feel you pulling darker from here, and I felt you dispel bro, Aradia says. Damara gives you a look. You can never understand what the future ghosts say in the same way that Aradia can't understand GHB or bro. All the same, you've learned to communicate with her over the years, and the look that Damara gives you suggests very much that getting rid of bro can only be the actions of a sane man, so of course you got rid of him. She's not wrong, but still. I'm pretty sure you already know the answer to all of that, seeing as you've apparently been in the loop of all of this longer than me, you say flatly. Aradia kind of folds in on herself, guilt pretty plain on her face and her body language. We just talked. She was trying to make me feel better, and I told her she should think about this more. I was hoping she'd at least wait until we were back on the Atuan, and if you needed support, there'd be more of us there to do it. She was unhappy, and we talked, and I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to make this happen, Aradia says unhappily. Man, we're friends. I wasn't accusing you of that. It feels pretty fucking shit on my end, but it's not like you make this happen because misery loves company or something. You sigh. I wouldn't. I'm still sorry, though, Aradia says. Yeah, well, I appreciate the concern and all, but we're going. Solix has to do some thing with the cliffs, and I gotta be there. I'm not up for being around people, so I'm gonna tell my group in Nep, and then I'm out, you say, a little numbly. The two of you by yourselves? That's a terrible idea, Aradia says in surprise. Hey, Solix protests. It's not that far off. You can still reach me for stuff.
You go vague as a sailor that you know isn't awake to all of this yet walks past you to get to the ablution block.
You're going to be unstable, and Solix has had a weird reaction. This isn't a good idea. Jade just broke up with you, and you don't think that all that loneliness...
She goes on as the door shuts. Aradia, you say warningly.
I'm serious. I know planets are less dangerous, but with everything that's been going on lately, it doesn't seem like a great idea to wander off alone and take on more risk,
Aradia tells you. 1, I won't be alone, and 2, I've been doing this longer than you, so I know how this works, and third of all, I didn't ask. You say sharply. You're really not in the mood for a fight, but if she keeps pushing you, then you're going to get there.
Yeah, you should know better. Dave, I'm not telling you how to feel about Jade.
Aradia tries again. My breakup is none of your business, you shout at her. Everything feels deadly silent afterwards, and you're aware that the sailor that was in the ablution block is right by the door on the other side, and definitely heard that. You're pretty sure that your words just echoed down the hallway, so that may as well have taken care of the telling people part of this. If you stay, you're either going to say something you can't take back, or you're just going to cry in front of her, and you've no intention of doing either. You push past Aradia, your shoulder clipping hers, and you rush down the stairs past someone who you're pretty sure is staring at you. You push past people and find Nepeta, catching her sleeve to get her attention.
Dave, are you okay?
Nepeta asks, looking up at you with wide eyes. No, not really. Solix needed to do a thing with the cliffs and signal or something. I'm going with him. Need to not be around people, you say, your voice thick in your throat.
Dave, what's wrong? Is this a thing?
She asks quietly, pulling you to the side of the mostly empty room. She means, is it a balance thing? Is it a, are ghosts going to come and try to cause mayhem kind of thing? It's a Jade thing, or a not Jade thing. Me and Jade not being a thing anymore, you say quietly, and your throat tightens. Nepeta's hand covers her mouth in shock, and she processes your words for a moment or two before nodding and putting on the front of your commander once again.
Right. Yes, good work, Dave. Make sure you keep Duelist covered as he works on the new setup, and if you find any trace of that wildlife in your scouting mission, make sure you document as much as you can. I'll brief your team,
Nepeta says, businesslike and definitely audible to everyone else around, like this is a normal work conversation. You nod gratefully and turn around to see Solix lingering in the doorway. He gets out of your way and then follows after you as you head to the heat lock room before the exit. Your bag is there, always packed and ready in case you have to run off on a quick mission. You've made sure that Solix's is as well, so you're able to throw your clothes on in numb routine, and when you're done, you just have to wait for Solix to catch up. I still need to grab some tech, Solix says as soon as he's dressed. I'll get the snowmobile, you tell him. Solix nods, and you let yourself out of the base building. On autopilot, you find a snowmobile docked and fully charged and reverse it out. You toss your bag in the tow trailer and strap it down. You stand there, numb for a few minutes as the aching realization that you've lost Jade forever sets in. The idea that you could just drive your snowmobile out into the uncharted expanse of this planet and never have to see anyone again presents itself in your mind. You'd like to blame that on the Void fucking with you, but you're decently sure that you're just heartbroken and really don't want to face people. You're still keeping an eye on that, though. You've no intention of calling out to the Void to offer yourself up as a tasty snack. Solix calls your name out, and you look around to see him with his head poking around one side of the building, his head and his horns all wrapped up in his fluffy lined hat. Quickly, you sling your leg over the snowmobile and pull around to one of the vehicle areas, where it turns out that he's levitating a whole bunch of tech. The two of you load up the trailer together in silence, a silence only broken when Solix brings up the vague coordinates and some drone pictures of where you need to go. Not that you need that much direction now, heading to the big cliffs is key enough. You climb on and wait for Solix to settle in behind you. When his hands are both on your sides, you pull away. With a little speed, you put the base behind you, and as you try to orientate yourself, you wonder if you're driving closer to the truck that Jade's in, since she dumped you and immediately left the base with her team. Then again, it's not as if it matters. Closing the physical distance between the two of you won't bring you back together in the way you want.
Solux shifts behind you, leaning closer to you and wrapping his arms around your middle as you turn off of the level ground and start heading up towards the distant cliffs. You're not sure if he's just hiding from the wind. Maybe he's trying to make sure he's holding on tight, given the ground is a bit more uneven here. It could be all of that, and it probably is, but part of you thinks it might be a hug, too. The kind you could accept without thinking it was the condescending kind of pity. Through the trees, you have to go slower, but you also catch the marks of the previous expedition that came this way. The snow disturbed here and there, and they wound their way through the trees, the same as you. Instead of thinking about Jade, you turn your attention to the woods around you, wary of any local fauna that might try to take you out. You keep your senses tuned for anything to do with the void as well. The idea that something came out from somewhere when you were balancing and actually interfered with Solux is deeply unsettling, and although Bro helped, if you want to use that word charitably, it doesn't mean good things. Pretty much nothing means good things right now. Distant movement has you cutting the acceleration of the snowmobile, leaving you to gently drift to a stop. What? Solux starts to ask, but you hold up your hand to silence him and point. In the distance, close to the cliffs and an outcrop of trees, there's a pack or maybe a herd of some kind of animal. Another one that's not on the list, but based on the size of these things and the fact that a few are nibbling the trees, you're going to guess they're the food for the apparently named space wolves that you saw before. The animals are tall. You could easily stand under the bodies of the adult ones without your head brushing their furry bellies. They've got 3 sets of legs which seem to have a ball joint in the middle that bends forwards and backwards. Wide bony horns jut from their heads in sweeping curves that are nothing like deer antlers. If anything, it's closer to the kind of frill you get on triceratops skulls. Whoa, Solux breathes. This is one part of your job that you've always loved, seeing alien life. Often it's not that interesting, a barren planet with a wide array of lichen-covered rocks. But more often than you'd think, you find planets with life on, complex, multicellular life in all its weird forms. Earth and Alternia weren't special. There's life everywhere. Well, for a while at least. Are they safe? Solux asks, loud enough that several of the creatures look around and see you. As a group, they burst into a run away from you with their weirdly jointed 6 legs, and just like that, they're gone. You send the footage to your Somnos file on your palm husk anyway. Your eyes record information, and it's held temporarily on your palm husk in a kind of rolling storage system where you have about 24 hours at a time. You're the only one with the access to it, but you can copy snippets out at will for science reasons like this. The thought occurs to you that if you wanted to, you could save the silent video of Jade breaking up with you. You could look over it again and again to overanalyze every look and reaction. You lift your arm and move to the footage file from your eyes and clear the whole thing. You're not going to do that to yourself. Dave? Solux asks, one of his fingers tapping against your side to get your attention physically as well as verbally.
Yeah, we're good. Let's keep going.
You say softly and start the engine again. It only takes about another hour to reach the base of the cliffs, and there's a fair portion of the ground at the base that's been trampled with boot prints and snowmobile tracks. Solux hops off of the snowmobile and walks a little awkwardly for a few paces as he stretches his legs out, and then starts explaining about what tech he needs to put down here and why, what it does. It all kind of goes in one ear and out the other for you. Instead of paying attention, you lean against the snowmobile and watch Solux work. You keep an eye out for the space wolves and idly take your sword off of its mount and fiddle with it. When you turn it on, Solux looks around in alarm.
Holy shit, you've got a fucking lightsaber? He gasps.
Ah, Solux's nerd shit goes back to old-fashioned nerd culture. Good to know.
It's a laser sword? You correct him.
Technically, it's a laser baton, but that term flew with absolutely no one. The sword folds up to pretty much just the handle, and it uses a certain amount of anti-gravity tech to suspend a metal disc that's super tiny at the end of the sword's range. It fires a beam that ionizes the air in something laser sword. You can't stab someone with it, but you can fell a tree and set it on fire in one swing. They're actually very useful survival tools for starting fires. You have settings that can cauterize a wound without removing the whole limb, and they're cool as shit.
Why don't I get a laser sword? Solix asks, clearly offended. In this job or your normal job? You ask. Either. And stop people calling me out to see that they've not plugged things in or bringing in stuff they poured their drink over. Solix says, clearly dreaming how that would play out. I think you know why they won't give you one. You tell them, rolling your eyes. Look, is there a chance my untrained self might accidentally remove one of my own limbs? Yes, a small chance, but it's there. Besides, I'm willing to risk it, and anyway, Equius does awesome prosthetics. I could have a robot arm. What's cooler than a robot arm? Solix challenges you. Robotic eyes and having all 10 of your own fingerprints still. You answer. That's 5 fewer fingerprints to leave at crime scenes. I'm seeing nothing but benefits here, Solix says. Still no. I'm gonna clear a path for the trucks. Stay around here, okay? Don't wander off, you warn him. Where am I gonna go? Solix asks, gesturing to the wilderness around you. I mean it, you tell him firmly, and walk away from the snowmobile back toward the tree line. You're not someone who buries your feelings in violence. Destroying something has never made you feel powerful or evened out pain from a past hurt. Sometimes sparring with Jake or Gamzee one-on-one can make you feel better, but that's more to do with that being exercise than it being violence. You're not the kind of person to break things. Mom was like that when she was really drunk. She'd throw bottles and glasses at the wall. Never at any of you personally, but it still felt shitty. All this is to say that you're not destroying a path through the forest because the destruction makes you feel better. What it does do is take your mind off of Jade, because you have to focus on which way the tree you fell is going to fall so it doesn't kill you. It's physical exertion that can wear you out a little and lessen your mind's gnawing on itself. It becomes a rhythm. Size up, swing, wait for the fall, move on. You cut tree after tree after tree. You have it on the cauterized setting, so you're cutting through without starting a forest fire. Every so often, you look back to check on Solix, seeing him busied with tech, sometimes sat on the snowmobile as he types away on his tablet. Sometimes he's levitating things as he moves from one thing to another with his work. You hear him walking towards you eventually, his boots crunching on the ground. You fell one last tree, turn your sword off, and turn around to face him. I have good news and bad news, Solix says as he walks up to you, his arms wrapped around himself. Yeah? You ask, dreading what he's going to say. Good news is I'm done in this area and everything is working so far. Also, this is probably a good point to eat at, right? Especially since it's so goddamn cold and I could really do with warming up. Solix starts. That's not a bad call. What's the bad news? You ask him warily. The bad news is, although this is putting out signal just fine, it can't reach the base from where all the tech is at now, which means anything drilling in there will be entirely isolated and will break down all the time and cause loads of work. What I can do is put a signal repeater tower up somewhere higher to give a better line of sight. I have all the tech for that because I thought it might happen, but, Solix looks over at the steep cliff face. But it's gotta be up there. You groan. Right. I could probably fly us up there. Solix starts, but you hold a hand up. Have you ever flown that high before? I know the answer's no, because there's nowhere on the ship that's that high, and since you haven't trained on planet for this, you're not cleared to carry us up like that. Besides, it's pretty windy above the tree line, so that's gonna be a hike. There's a break in the cliffs over that way, so I think we can drive over and try to hike around the mountain. You could probably fly us up short parts, but not the whole thing, you say, somewhat reluctantly. Flying up that cliff sounds nice, but it's not nice if halfway up Solix loses focus or power and you both plummet to your deaths. Or if he's not used to countering weather and a gust comes up and slams you into the rock face, killing you, or wounding you and then dropping you to your deaths. Yeah, okay, I'm supposed to follow your lead, right? So, lead on, Solix sighs. You're not a fan of people telling you what to do, are you? You ask him as you move past him to walk back to the snowmobile. I don't mind it if it's already the thing I want to do or if I agree with it. At least at my normal job, me and Hal just make requests of each other and our boss just lets us do what we do without interfering, Solix says, with a pout that you can hear and don't need to look around to see. So, you don't like being told what to do?
you conclude. No one does, Solix argues. There's a pause as you both consider that statement, and you're pretty sure you both think about Equius, decide against mentioning it, and move on. I don't mind it so much. I get pissed when people in charge don't listen to me, but I also know that they know things I don't. I respect Nepeta's leadership, so I do what she says, even if I don't always agree, and yeah, I think it'd be faster if you carried us up there, but I know why the rules are there to say you can't, since you've not gone through all the right tests you would as a sailor to prove you had that power. You probably can, it's just the sailors aren't willing to bet our lives on it. You sigh. That's fair, I guess, Solix says. You're not going to talk Solix out of sulking about that, so instead you focus on taking out what you need from the bags to make your lunch as the two of you get back to the snowmobile. You realize that somehow you managed to put a chicken parm ration in your pack, because of course you did. Just what you needed today. You sit down on the frozen ground and start to boil the water that you need for your meals. Or you put it on to boil and then unhappily stare at it. I don't think that makes it boil faster, Solix reminds you, and you shrug a little apathetically. Look, I know that things with Jade seem bad right now, Solix starts. They are bad now, and they were bad earlier today, and that's not going to change. I swear, if you give me the whole time heals all wounds talk, I'm going to scream. You warn him. Alright, that's not exactly what I meant. Me telling you it'll feel better someday doesn't stop how much today sucks, and really bad things never fully go away, but you have enough experience with awful shit to know that it does get better, comparatively speaking. Solix reasons. And that helps me here and now. How exactly? I swear, I can't understand future people at all. You say bitterly. I'm just trying to help, Solix says, and you actually feel a little bad for being shitty about this. Not bad enough to stop your mouth running, though. I appreciate the spirit you're offering that in, but it's not helpful. It's not how I think. Fuck, I kind of wish I was talking to Gamzee here instead. You sigh. Solix's eyes go wide, his mouth drops open, and he makes a noise of pure offense. Wow. Wow, great. Not only would you replace me for someone else, but Gamzee? It's bad enough with Karkat, but you're not even the guy's Moirail, Solix says in outrage. What even is your problem with the guy, really? You're enough of an adult that him dating your crush wouldn't amount to this. Like, it's been... Well, I guess they're the longest running relationship in our group now. It's a little long for just being salty about that, is what I'm saying. You ask him. It's not... That doesn't help. It also doesn't help that I know he can't stand me either, and whenever we're alone together, I get the distinct impression that he wants to pop my think pan off my spine like a Pez dispenser, and Karkat's the only thing stopping him. He's a shitty Moirail to Karkat. Karkat tells me stuff all the time, and either he didn't think he could ask Gamzee, or Gamzee gave him shitty advice. He's so much less than himself around Gamzee, and I know he's always trying to keep on top of what will or won't have an effect on Gamzee. He sucks, they're awful together, and I don't understand how anyone likes the shitty, unfunny clown man. Solix hisses venomously. I can't really say about the Karkat thing, but if you told Karkat all that and he's still with him, then that's his choice, you point out. And I hate it, Solix snaps. I wouldn't say me and Gamzee are friends. There's a lot of same to our situations, and Bro and GHB both suck hardcore. Sometimes being around each other can be like looking in a shitty funhouse mirror of yourself, and that's not fun for either of us. But Gamzee always does his job. I can rely on him. He doesn't tend to take shit personally, and he doesn't try to make me feel better. And as a fellow former kid with a nightmare past, maybe some of the things Karkat does to not upset Gamzee are because of that. Gamzee didn't get a Lucis. He had his shit ancestor raise him in the loosest possible sense of the word, just like my biological parents. I know you lost Matuna, and I'm sure that fucking sucked, but when the person who fucked you up was the person who was meant to protect you, it kind of screws with your ability to have functioning relationships as an adult. You say sharply. You're no Gamzee fan. You wouldn't hang out and braid each other's hair. You're not friends. It's not like that. But you trust him, and you think he's doing what he can to get by, and you feel that. You're in no position to judge him for anything. You wish he'd get more help, but he didn't end up in the same care that you did. There but for the grace of Dad would you be. If you hadn't had Dad telling you that your feelings were okay, that it wasn't your fault, if he hadn't gotten you help and supported you, then
You're pretty sure you'd be in a worse place than Gamzee right now. Fuck, given your family history, you probably would have taken the turn Roxy nearly did and try to either drown yourself or your pain in alcohol and not cared much which went first. So, if Gamzee's relationship with Karkat is a little dysfunctional or a little weird, it doesn't mean he's evil, he's just messed up. You and Solix are left in the silence of what was shaping up to be an argument. The water, too, is coming to a boil. I wasn't trying to discount that, Solix says quietly. No, I shouldn't have said it. It's one of those things like, whenever you compete in the suffering Olympics, no one wins. I wasn't trying to act like Matuna. I shouldn't have brought him up. Sorry. You apologize. No, I get it. I'm just never gonna like him is all. Solix shrugs. You can not like whoever you like, man. That's your right, or something. You tell him. Cool, I will. But do you really wish he was here instead of me? Solix asks and looks at you with an actually hurt expression. No, I don't. He can be a good person to be around when you're in a situation like this. Sometimes people trying to fix things and cheer you up make you feel worse, and he's good for just letting something sit. Sometimes you need that, you say as the water comes to a boil fully. You start to pour it into your main meal pouches and then your cups of coffee. I get that, but Gamzee makes the comparison so much worse. If you'd said you wished Hal was here instead, I could be okay with that because he's family, but Gamzee? I might have terrible self-esteem sometimes, Solix starts. When you don't think you're the best, you cut in. Shut up. But even I know I'm better than Gamzee. He's a shitty clown and he's not even funny. I'm funnier than him, Solix insists. Oh yeah? You grin at him. Fuck you, I'm the funniest person on this planet, Solix retorts, probably somewhat insincerely since he's casually sitting down by his food instead of sincerely defending his point. Oh shit, you could have said you're the funniest man on this planet, but you're going all out and beating everyone, huh? You tease him. Well, Solix hesitates. What even really is a man anyway? What does that mean? You pause and then look down at your ration pack before holding it up with one hand and gesturing to the standard plain print on the bag that says chicken parm in solid font. Behold, a man, you say with a straight face. What? Solix asks, utterly bewildered. Never mind. I've been robbed with my family not being here. They'd think that's the funniest shit ever. Diogenes would be killing himself laughing if he hadn't been dead for a bajillion years and his bones eaten by the void. You sigh. That's because your whole family is weird, Solix says flatly. Fair, you shrug and return to your horrible meal. Seriously, this chicken parm is the goddamn worst thing ever made, and it's kind of the terrible icing on a god-awful fucking day. But even with all that said, you could have worse company to eat it with. You're pretty grateful to get to wash your mouth out with coffee all the same. The two of you pack up when you're done, and you drive the snowmobile through the forest and along the line of the cliff as far as you can, scouting out the best place to get up there. You manage to find the place you'd spotted from afar, where the cliff splits and cracks a fair bit to make more of a slope back into the gentler rise that precedes the cliff from the back. You can get a little way up it with your snowmobile, but eventually you have to park and tether the thing and get off. Is this where you're gonna tell me that I have to carry my pack up this whole mountain? Solix asks unhappily. This is that part, yeah. Don't worry, I'm gonna tow the trailer, you assure him as you unhitch the trailer from the snowmobile and release your pack from it. But it levitates from the power of the snowmobile, you point out as you swing your pack on your back and clip it in place. It has a small battery to do some friction easing, and it's got sled runners. I can drag it. Plus, it's got some solar charging to recharge that. It'll be fine. Old Earth explorers just had regular sleds and sometimes dogs, you say, and clip the trailer to your belt loops. We don't have dogs. You can't drag that thing the whole way yourself. That's crazy, Solix insists. Firstly, I'm gonna, because this is a long-ass hike in extra gravity, and I'm gonna be impressed if you can hike the whole way as you are now. Secondly, you've seen the tattoo. I am the dog, you tell him, and start walking. You're only burning daylight standing here. That doesn't seem fair. Can I at least levitate it for you for part of this? That doesn't... Holy shit, this is steep.
Solix gasps behind you, and you whip around just in case he's about to lose his footing, but he looks like he's got it. Plus, he can fly too, so that's something to set your mind at ease. It's fine. Come walk up by me, not behind the trailer, you tell him. Solix does what you tell him, and the two of you get to hiking properly. As you predicted, Solix's energy burns low within a couple of hours, and he's definitely not in a place to be levitating shit for you. When you get to the higher point of the climb, you take a break so that you both can eat a snack and have a drink, as well as giving Solix time to complain that he shouldn't be able to both feel freezing from the cold and too hot from all the hiking. He doesn't appreciate you pointing out that he ought to enjoy the duality of that. Luckily for you, he's too tired to chase you very far when you point that out. The problem with really long and difficult hikes like this is that eventually you're too tired to really talk much. Despite your experience and your endurance, you're still dragging all of your stuff with you. You're going uphill the whole way, and it is more than your usual amount of gravity. It's tiring. You're also responsible for working out the route that you're taking, as Solix mindly follows you in every direction you give. You're the one with the experience to know that this way will need a little uphill scramble, but that way the snow will shift under you and send you sliding down the slope. Even so, all of that's not enough to keep Jade off of your mind completely. You don't want to think about how tired you're getting, so your mind tries to distract yourself, but then Jade is just a different kind of agony. Maybe I shouldn't have let her go. If I'd fought more, maybe she'd have known how much I love her, you say after a while. A breakup isn't code for convince me, Solix says bluntly. Yeah, you knew that. It just feels like when you were a kid playing video games with your siblings and you'd fail at something, there was some secret thing or pattern that you just had to get. It feels like there should have been something you could have said that would have made Jade reconsider, but it doesn't work like that. She's not some inanimate thing that you just need to do the right combo to in order to win. She's a person, a great person that you love, and she decided that she didn't want you like that anymore. There's no secret Jade route to avoid the breakup ending. You can't save scum your breakup until you do it right. Even so, your mind still insists that you did something wrong, that you could somehow have saved it, and now this is your fault. Rose could probably tell you exactly what kind of maladaptive thought process that is, but you don't know the name of it off the top of your head. You pause in place and look around. You're following the ridge of the cliff, but it's getting close to dark now, and you're not where you need to be for Solix to plan his communication thing. We need to make camp, you tell Solix, who just nods numbly. You have a hyper-compact tent in the trailer, and you have a feeling that the snow up here is too shallow to make a snow bunker like Solix was trained to do before. You're pretty sure the wind must whip off of the top of this cliff often enough that the snow can't get that deep. You grab your laser sword and flick it out. Turning it on with a click, it illuminates the ground around you in a brilliant red. You crouch down and slice downwards through the ice and the top layer of snow and find rock when you get only about a foot down. Tent it is, then. Come on, we want to be a little lower, more sheltered. Can you grab the back of the trailer so it doesn't comically run me over and catapult all of our shit down the slope? You ask. Yeah, but now you've made me tempted to let go. Solix jokes weakly and grabs the trailer anyway. The pair of you carefully descend down the slope with a few alarming slips accompanied by multilingual swearing, but eventually you find a little cove area between a few larger boulders. You wonder if they were moved there by glaciers before, and sadly think that Jade could look at them and immediately tell you so much. God, you miss her so much already. We have to cook and make a shelter, right? I can cook, Solix offers. That would actually be amazing, you say in relief. You toss your things into the trailer and just grab what you need to set up the tent. A lot of the tent assembles itself because of the wonders of technology and temporary habs. It does need to be pretty compact, though, and reusable, which means that no matter how much you engineer it, a tent will always be a tent, and at some point you're going to be stuck with some poor fucker like you counting out pegs and trying to find something you had in your hand just a moment ago. You get the damn thing grounded in place, sheltered away from the worst of the wind, and check that everything inside is cool, and then throw your things inside it. With that done, you tell Solix to get started boiling the water and set out the proximity beacons. What are those for? I thought we only used the proximity tech for bases, Solix asks as you hammer one into the ice.
Normally, yeah, but when we're like this, it just makes sure that we know if anything comes near the tent. If anything does, the reader will let us know and see outside. You tell him, and as you walk around and bang another one into the ground.
Well, I'm not going to be anxious about that not working at 2 a.m. or anything. Hadn't considered being eaten by space wolves in my sleep, but here we are, Solix complains.
I'm pretty sure that I've worn you out enough that you're not going to be doing anything at 2 a.m.
You snort, and it seems like Solix has nothing to say about that. You guess he's hungry since he's suddenly really focused on the food. You finish up just as he does, so you get him to pick up the prepared food and take it into the tent. The tent consists of a main area and a smaller bedroom area. You both strip off your winter clothes and flick off the snow and ice outside as best you can, and then seal yourselves inside. You take the chemical heater that boiled the water and use its fading heat to warm up your tent by propping it up in your now empty water tin. The pair of you eat in exhausted quiet, with only the occasional remark passed between you two.
Huh, it's warmer in here than I thought it would be, Solix says with a mouthful of rice. There's an outer layer and inner layer of the tent, like a thermos. It keeps it pretty warm. Between that and the undersuits, we're okay, you explain, and Solix nods. I'm still cold, he points out, and you shrug. Not a lot you can do about it, since it takes a while to properly warm up. You do the usual things you do in camp at dark. Brush your teeth, go find a rock to take a very cold and very fast bathroom break behind, check all the proximity tech, and then set up your bed. You've got an inflated mattress that you loathe putting away because it folds down to basically nothing, but it's a bitch to make it do that. Solix immediately gets into his sleeping bag, even as you're still zipping the door closed. I'm so cold, he whines softly. The sleeping bags connect together. We can do that if you want. It's warmer, but it depends on if you're going to kick me all night or something, you offer as you crawl onto the air. Are you sure? Solix asks in surprise. You almost comment that you might as well, since you're not going to be sharing a bed with anyone else ever again since Jade ditched you, but that comment is both hugely depressing and would make this kind of weird. Wouldn't have offered otherwise, but I don't recommend doing it with Locke. He's awful to share with, you say, remembering a very sleepless night and a lot of aching ribs thanks to his elbows. It seems you don't have to ask Solix twice since he starts to unzip his sleeping bag right away. You feel bad for him as he cringes as the colder air hits him. You zip the undersides of your sleeping bags together and then get on top of it so you can zip the top around you both. There's a fair bit of fidgeting in your shared sleeping bag as you both get comfortable. Eventually, though, you end up face down with your head pillowed on Solix's chest and one of his legs between yours. His arm curls around your back, and soon enough you feel him drift into sleep. He must be out of it, 'cause he shifts a little to nuzzle his face into your hair, just as you're on the edge of sleep yourself. But he's warm and comfortable to sleep on, and you drift off into a deep and exhausted sleep with no problem at all. You walk through the door of your home, your hand on your tie as you loosen it. I'm home, you call out. Oh, you're back. Solix's voice reaches you. You follow the direction it came through and walk into a kitchen. Solix looks around to see you, and your brain skitters to a halt to see him standing there in a short dress with a fucking apron on it, and what the fuck? Peak fucking comedy, you call out angrily as everything freezes. Bro appears at the dining table, leaning back in a chair with his feet on the table and a smug look on his face. You complain when it's bad dreams, and now you complain about this, Bro says lightly. Fuck this, I'm waking up, you mutter, and raise your arm up in front of you, ready to fling it to the wall to wake you up and out of your dream. Where are you? Bro interrupts. You try to distill your memories into a coherent thought. You're on a mission. Fuck, you're in the same sleeping bag as Solix. If you try to backhand your way out of this dream, you risk hitting him. Unless you want to hit him,
Bro finishes for you, and the scene around you fast forwards to Solix on the floor holding his cheek with one hand and the skirt of his dress very pointedly riding up his legs.
For a straight man, you've got a lot of detail on his bare legs,
you point out flatly.
It's a realistic puppet. Bro shrugs.
Listen, this is a very big concept for you, so I'm going to break it down for you. You can actually care about someone without wanting to put your dick in them, you tell him.
Maybe if you'd put your dick in your girlfriend, she'd still be your girlfriend,
Bro retorts. Well, maybe I would have wanted to if you weren't so creepily fucking obsessed with the idea of a next generation of Striders. And even if I managed to get past that and I had started a family with Jade and I had a son, you know what? It would never been called Dave. Your stupid male line dies with me, and I only exist because you were dumb enough to fuck your boss and think she gave a shit about you. You snarl at him.
This isn't about me,
Bro snaps, leaping to his feet. It's always about you. You're upset that your only biological son, which is absolute shit and you know it, isn't having kids and isn't marrying a human woman because you fucked me up too bad. It's about you. So you've got to drag Solix into this like it's got anything to do with him just because you never had friends because you're a sad, dead, useless man, you say pointedly. Yeah, that's one thing your siblings never had that you did. For them, Bro is dead and they can't tell him anything. For you, you still have to deal with him, except he can't hurt you, and you absolutely can tell him everything you think about him. Sure, he can make you dream that your eye sockets are filled with spiders or something, but you can wake yourself up from nightmares. You can do way worse to him.
You can wake me up at any time, you add. Oh, you'd like that. Is this too real for you? Wait, no, you're right. You don't want to put your dick in him,
Bro says, and at once you and Solix have swapped clothes, as well as the implication as to who's getting, well. Okay, fine. If this is chicken, then you're gonna make him break first. You turn to face Bro, pretty dress swishing over dramatically, just to really emphasize that you're wearing it.
Here's the thing. I'm a victim. Mom experimented on me, and I was a victim,
you tell him simply.
Get over it,
Bro says flatly. We were both her victims, you add, and Bro freezes. I was a kid who couldn't defend himself, and you were a traumatized, literally only just legal employee of hers. You wanted approval from someone in authority, and she used you for whatever she needed, and then when she could save her own neck by sacrificing you, she did. She told you that someone would rescue you to make you comply, and then they shoved you into space and no one came because she never cared about you either. I'm her victim, and so are... You jerk awake before you get to the end of your sentence. Yeah. That's what you thought. Bro's a fucking coward.